Hello, welcome to Box to Board. Now, I know that this has been out a while, but we're going to have our first look at it because I finally got my hands on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the 4th edition, and we're going to have a quick peek and see what is inside. Now, the first thing to say about this is it is a hefty tome. I mean, there's a good chunk of, there's what, 300 pages? 350 odd pages in there. It's quite, you know, there's a lot to it. I've got, first disclosure, I have a real affinity for the old world, and that colours a lot of what we're going to talk about. So let's have a look. Because whenever I first got into wargaming again, it was largely through the Warhammer Fantasy before Age of Sigmar, so I have an awful lot of love for this. So as you'd expect, you've got your contents with all the bits and pieces, and this is a detailed and a detailed system that works really well, actually, from what I can see. It rules on a D100. The artwork and the quality of the printing is awesome, as you can see. I have to say, I have found the artwork to be a little bit whimsical, a little bit. It's fun. There's a lot of fun in this book. There's a lot of a sense of it being something that's kind of takes itself as seriously as it has to, but they've taken the game seriously, but they don't take themselves seriously. It's this kind of, which I quite like. The bit in characters and how to generate them is really cool. You've got, I think, 4 races, is it? No, 5 races. Humans, halflings, dwarves, high elves, and wood elves. The vast majority, 9 times out of 10, if you're rolling it 9 times out of 10, you will be a human, because they're much more common. There's random, all the way through the character generation, there's lots of these sort of random bits, and there's benefits to accepting the random because you get XP, effectively. So if you accept it, but you don't have to accept it, and that's, so if you roll randomly, you'll get some bonus XP, is what it boils down to. What's really nice is these little bits of opinions between the different races, which is quite cool, and they really get a flavour of what they're like, which is kind of nice. Then we get, once you get your race, there's another random class and career generator, which is kind of cool, and you can see there are an awful lot of classes. Or there's an awful lot of careers available, which is kind of cool. And again, you get bonuses if you roll it randomly and you accept it. You get some bonuses in XP, which is kind of cool. And then there's a bit about attributes and how they work, and you can roll those up or not, as the case may be. So you can determine that there's some other options that you can do as well, and a bit about what all the bits do, which is kind of cool. Then there's a bit about skills and talents, and there's some stuff with the species skills that you get and how to allocate those, some species talents you get, how to allocate those. Then there's a bit about the career skills, and yes, and talents. And then there's trappings, so the equipment you start with, and it goes through how to, what you'll get depending on your class and depending on your career, which is kind of nice. And then you've got some bits about how to add detail, things like names and physical details, and stuff like that, which is kind of nice. And then a bit about ambitions and how to bring your character to life, and kind of 10 questions that will make you think of your character and help you to develop them, which is kind of cool. Then there's a little bit about how to advance, and a bit about the character sheet. So it's all really well laid out in character generation. It is a fairly detailed system, so it's good that it's laid out, which is kind of nice. And the bit that kind of just grabbed me is this bit. Whenever you open the book, it's just like, wow, this is just awesome. It's the class and careers. Now, let's have a look. So basically, there are a heap load of careers available to you. And let's see, so we got apothecaries, we've got engineers, lawyers, nuns, physicians, priests, scholars, wizards, agitators, which is kind of cool, artisans, beggars, investigators, merchants, rat catchers, townsmen, each one with a write-up, watchmen, advisors, and each one's got a little write-up, some skills, some talents. You've got 4, I'll just pause at this point, you've got 4 different stages in your career, and things and bonuses that become available to you as you achieve each stage, which is kind of cool. And you have to adventure to get, you have to build up your XP to get those stages. So what else have we got? We got artists, duelists, envoys, nobles. There's loads. Servant, spy, warden, bailiff. You know, and you can see each one of these: the hedge witch, herbalist, hunter, miner. Each one has got some really, cool, whimsical artwork. Mystic, scout, villager, bounty hunter, coachman, entertainer, flagellant with his head on fire, the messenger running along, slightly podgy bloke, peddler, road warren, witch hunter, boatman, huffer, which is the pilot of a ship, river warden, you've got your river women, I would imagine, or man, seaman, smuggler, stevedore, your raker, a bawd, or bowed, charlatan, which is a new one on me, a fence, and grave robber, outlaw. Some of the artwork in this is just awesome. Racketeer, thief, some witch, cavalryman, guard, knight. The guard's quite cool. I mean, let's just look at that for a minute. So the artwork, just guard, just random thing. Look at the artwork here. You've got the guy at the front and you've got the guy behind him who's kind of like not that keen on being there. And it's this attention to detail and whimsy in this that really brings it to life to me. Whenever I look at this stuff, whenever I look at the artwork, pet fighter, protagonist, if you slayer, soldier, and warrior priest. I mean, whenever I look at this artwork, and I don't say this as a criticism at all. I think it's an awesome thing. There's a hint of Discworld in it, which just sparks something that this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun game, and I love that. I mean, I just love the way the artwork brings it to life and says this is kind of just a fun fantasy world. D&D is much more serious. This is not as serious. Skills and talents you've got in here, and it goes through all your skills, and there are a load of skills. I mean, there's one, consume alcohol, and there's rules for tons of stuff, and tons and tons and tons and tons of skills and talents. And you can see that, I'm just going to flick quickly through this. There's a load of stuff in here. It's just a load of stuff, which is kind of cool. And then we get the rules bit. And the rules, you get these little call-out boxes throughout the book, and you get tables throughout the book, which are really helpful. Call-out boxes can be really, really useful. And then we get, bits about combat and how combat works. As I think from what I can gather, there's opposed rules. And there's all kinds of stuff in here, and you get this sense of a well thought through game that has got a lot of fun elements. It's got a lot of it's going to be pretty brutal, to be honest, because one of the things your talents can be doomed. I think it's doomed, which basically means that if you die, you get half your XP that you've gathered onto your next character. Well, the fact you've got that says, you're probably going to have some guys die if you run a decent campaign. So, it's a pretty brutal system, but that's kind of fun. So you don't get too precious about things. I really love that. And then there's a bit about between adventures and things you can do. And there's loads in here. I mean, there's just loads and loads and loads. It's going to take me a while to really get my head around this. Religion features quite heavily in this, which is interesting. They've got a lot about the different gods, and actually one of the things that stands out is, for a change, it's not all about the chaos gods. It's not all about loads and loads of chaos. I think they've got a tiny amount mentioned. It's actually, so that's the chaos gods. 4 paragraphs. Everybody else features a lot more. Kind of cool. Then there's, because actually in the Warhammer world, it's always so much about the chaos gods. It's quite nice having the other guys getting a look at. Then we've got some of the things that can happen. You know, blessings, prayers, how those work, miracles, things like that. Which, you know, it's just just mad. Then we get magic and the different colours of magic, or the 8 lures of magic and effects. So you've got, you know, you can see that for yourself. And again, you've got this attention to detail, and the artwork really brings it to life, which is lovely. We've got the magic rules, how they work, and again, it's, you know, it's well thought through. It's there in, you know, enough detail that you're actually going to be able to use it if you choose to. You don't have to, but it's there if you want to. And then we've got the bit for the GM, which is kind of cool. And actually, I've noticed that it's very much focused on trying to remind you of things like, you know, things you want to know, but, you know, things about travel, how much it's going to cost, how much the time's going to be, you know, all this immersive stuff. But actually, not. I mean, there's not a ton. It's not. You're not bound. You're not being bowled over with this. You're not being snowed under as a GM with the stuff, because you've got the book, the rest of the book to help you. But it's got a few pages and things that the GM would find useful, like how to award experience points and stuff like that. Interestingly, they put the world at the end. It's set in Reichland, and a lot of books tend to put it at the very beginning, but in this one, they let you jump straight into generating your character, which I think is a good idea. And it goes through a lot about, you know, the timeline in Reichland and sort of the politics and how it works and what it's like. But, you know, if you're into the Warhammer Fantasy, you probably know quite a lot of stuff already, but it brings more detail, and it gives more fun. I mean, you know, for most of us, one of the reasons why we like this, why we like this game, is because we like that world already. So it's kind of cool. Then we've got the Consumer's Guide, which is basically a shop and tells you how buying stuff works and costs and stuff like that, as you'd expect. And quite, you know, again, tons. You can just see it's tons of stuff. And then we get the bestiary, which tells you about peoples. So if you are, you know, up against an NPC who is one of the races, what they like, and then we get ogres and, you know, all the different things in Warhammer Fantasy. So we get beasts and boars and dogs and giant rats and pigeons, for some reason. Wolves. We get you know, bog octopuses, cave squigs and demigriffs, dragons and fen beasts. You know, some really cool kind of things to fight. Giants, and hippogriffs, griffins, manticores. You know, loads of really good fun stuff. Then we get the green skin hordes, which is kind of cool. So we get the goblins and the orcs, snotlings, restless dead, skeletons and zombies and that kind of stuff. Then we get the beastmen and some stuff that you can fight there, and you can see tons of stuff. Gibbering hosts, the loathsome ratmen, and interestingly, what is missing is we don't get anything about lizard men. So who knows? Maybe that's coming. I don't know. And then we get a bit of creature traits and what that's like, and then finally, I think, and we can see tons of explanations and just detail. We get the sheets and the index, and you get this lovely map on both sides. So what are my first impressions of this? First impressions, I love the look of it. It's quite, you know, it's the same as most systems. It's around the same kind of price, but you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of information in there. There's everything you need to play. I love the artwork. It sets a really interesting tone. It sets a fun, vibrant tone to the whole thing. It feels as if you're gonna enjoy this game whenever you go through that book. I like the D100 system. I like the detail that it gives you. I think it's going to be a really fun way to play. I think it's going to be interesting to play. The sheer number and wealth of classes is kind of cool. I find that a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest, but once you get your head around it and once you start rolling and start digging into it, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's really good because it's not, some games tend to overwhelm you with the number of races, and give you tons and tons of races. This one you've only really got 5 races to deal with, and the chances, you know, that's not too many, and that's really cool. So that gives you the I think having the classes really balances that out quite nicely. I love the fact that you've got that it's set in the old world. I love that because I think the old world is so rich and so well developed, it'd be a shame to see it not be used. And I think it's really exciting to see that, and really interesting to see the old world being used in this way. And I really like the career paths. I think the career paths are going to make it a lot more interesting. I think the fact that, you know, you're kind of in this position where it's worth your while developing the XP for your character. It's worth your while building up that character because there's some bonuses that will come to you later on, and little things like the amount of cash that you get. There's a lot of variables in actually your career path, so it's kind of cool and good, good fun. Is it a game that I would say I would recommend to play in a group? Definitely, but I don't think it's a casual RPG. I think it's the kind of game that you want to play on a fairly regular basis because there is a lot in there. There's a lot of depth in there. And the thing that's missing, actually, in some respects, is that it doesn't have a beginner's story. It doesn't have a beginner's mission in there. But I know that there's a starter pack coming out, a beginner's pack coming out in the not too distant future. So that will come with that. But at the minute, I would say you don't really need it because there's enough there to work with as a GM, and because it is in the Warhammer fantasy world, and because it is fantasy, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can adapt to fit this game without too much fuss. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around that people have got, that people have played. I love it. I actually really like the tone of it. I think it's a very, 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 very welcome addition. Literally, it's a welcome addition. So cool, and I can't wait to get it on the table. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a lovely evening. We do a lot of role-playing stuff on the website, on the channel, sorry. And if you are interested and you don't want to miss it, the easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of our content is to subscribe to our channel and comment and participate and get involved. It would be lovely to have you along, and have a great evening. Thank you for watching.